Clemson's streak of ACC championships and New Year's Six bowl appearances took a detour last season, but Dabo Swinney's squad is back on the big stage to end the year. Meanwhile, Tennessee has a chance to win a New Year's Six bowl game for the first time since 2004. Let's welcome in the experts now, team site writer Wes Rucker and Clemson football alumni Darian Rencher. Interesting quarterback situation for both teams here as they look for replacements. Tennessee's situation looking like more of an audition. So Wes, who can we expect to see from the Vols under center?
I think it's going to be the Joe Milton III show. You know, this is a guy who, former Michigan quarterback, obviously, was Tennessee's starter going into last season. And then Hendon Hooker kind of drank his milkshake and became the man and didn't look back until he got hurt. So now we get to see Joe Milton III again. And if you've never seen Joe Milton III play football, you will see one of the strongest arms you'll ever see at any level of the game in your life as long as you watch this game. This kid can throw the ball a mile. The problem is sometimes he throws it a mile when he doesn't need to. But he's got the absolute ability physically, the size, the ability. His teammates love him. Every piece is there for him to be a really good player. He just has never put the entire thing together. I don't know if the Clemson defense is the best defense to go against when you're trying to put that together, but we'll see, right? He's getting thrown in right in with the Sharks, and we'll see what he's got in this game.
On the other side, Dabo Swinney has named Cade Klubnik the starter moving forward. And Darian, your former teammate DJU announced his decision to transfer soon after. So how do you expect the locker room to react behind the freshman play caller?
I think they're ready. I think he's been obviously in the mix of conversation through the entire year. I've been around him on my way out, then I've been around the program. People love him. He had nothing but respect and admiration for DJ, so he never was a locker room problem as far as like the competitiveness. So I think they're gonna rally around him, as you saw in the ACC championship game. DJ, man, can't speak highly enough of him. But at the same time, the decision was made, and as soon as Cade Klubnik stepped in the game, the energy just shifted. And Clemson went on to dominate that game against UNC, where some people thought it would be a competitive game. And so, I mean, I think he has all the intangibles. He seems like a fun kid. He can run the ball. He's almost like a little mini Trevor-esque. They got the same slender build. So I think Clemson fans like the way he plays. He can spin the ball. In that game, he showed everything. He showed he can make the plays. He can run the ball. He can make the throws. So I think the sky is the limit for him right now. And I think Clemson looks like the offense that everybody is used to.
All right, at this point, we know opt-outs are just an inevitable part of bowl season, but the most notable ones in this game are Vols star receivers Jalin Hyatt and Cedric Tillman and Clemson defensive end Myles Murphy. So, Darian, start us off here. How does Clemson replace opt-outs and distribute those reps to other guys on the two deep?
Yeah, as you look at the bowl game, this is a chance for a lot of guys who may not be marquee top 10 first-round guys to make a name for themselves, to up their draft stock. Every year, there are guys that play in bowl games and playoff games of any kind. This is an opportunity against a top opponent to prove your worth even that much more. So you look at guys like KJ Henry, Justin Maskell, some other younger guys at defensive end to step in for Myles Murphy and just continue to elevate their play. And even with Trenton Simpson, who's a top projected linebacker, you got some younger guys who can get a chance to really just show, hey, they belong, and there's no drop off. There's some other guys, like I said, to boost their draft stock. So I'm looking forward to guys stepping up.
Yeah, I think the guys at Tennessee, the receiver situation, you're going to miss Jalin Hyatt and Cedric Tillman. I mean, there's no team in America that wouldn't miss those two guys. They're both high-round draft picks. They're both can run, both can make all kinds of big plays, vertical threats, make you miss type of guys. Tennessee will miss them. There's no question about it. Tennessee does, however, have some other wide receivers. Ramel Keaton's had some really big games this season. Brew McCoy's had some really big games this season. He's a guy who could be a high-round pick in next year in the draft. And then a freshman I really like in Squirrel White, a kid who can absolutely run. Squirrel White is a name you would have heard more this season if it hadn't been for Jalin Hyatt doing everything he's done. Squirrel White can absolutely fly. That's the reason why he's got that name. He might actually be a little faster than Jalin Hyatt. Doesn't mean he's as good as Jalin Hyatt yet, but he's a guy who can run that well. So Tennessee will have a little bit of some depth issues. I think there's a chance at wide receiver, but we'll see. They've got guys who can play, at least a handful of them or so. I don't think it's a huge deal, but you're going to miss those guys. I mean, anybody would.
A guy named Squirrel faster than Jalin Hyatt. That's something to look forward to. All right.
He can run.
Yeah. Both teams here left out of the playoff despite being favorites at one point to get there. So, Wes, start us off with this one. But what's the mindset for these teams going into the game?
I mean, I wouldn't imagine that I should speak for Clemson, but I would imagine that it's just Clemson's trying to prove that it's the team that everybody thought it was going into the season. Now that Clemson's got the QB1 that people think can take that thing to the next level, maybe we'll see Clemson look like it was supposed to look like all season. For Tennessee, you're talking about a team that I thought would go 8-4. A lot of people would go 8-4, 9-3, maybe if everything went perfectly. But it didn't. It didn't go that way. Obviously, Tennessee was a lot better than that. It was one loss against South Carolina from probably being in the playoffs. So there's certainly some disappointment to some extent. But I think when you see the big picture, you see a program that is headed in a certain direction, and that direction is up. And this is an opportunity to go play a marquee name and a marquee game. Listen, it's not the playoff. No one's going to pretend otherwise. It's not the playoff, but it's certainly a game that's a big game. It's one of the more intriguing ones. It's not a playoff game, and Tennessee's got a chance to build something going into next season with Joe Milton running the show, and maybe prove that they don't have to turn to Nico Iamaleava right from the get-go. So there's a lot on the line for Tennessee in this game. It's an exhibition in a certain way, but it's a big one.
For sure. I would say on our side, I really feel like it's the battle of the oranges. I think it's so crazy that two orange teams play in the Orange Bowl, and I would just be willing to bet on this show, whoever doesn't win this game should maybe have to wear the other team's color for a couple games next year, maybe. We'll see. But it's definitely the battle of the orange. I think for Clemson, like he alluded to, is Clemson's been at the top for a while now. I think the past year was a little shaky. And so I think this opportunity to continue to solidify that Clemson's built to last. This is a top New Year's Six bowl game. Obviously, it's not the playoffs, but at the same time, you're playing against a team a lot of people thought at one point was the best team in the country. And so to get a win right here, to me, with Cade Klubnik taking the wheel, it just goes into the offseason with so much momentum for Clemson to be back a national championship caliber team. And then as far as Tennessee, I think this is a Cinderella story for them. Like you said, look at big picture, not the disappointments of this season. Tennessee, this is the best season they've had in a long time. So I think for them, is to go and knock off a program like Clemson just sets the stage for them building off of this year, for them to be a national championship caliber team, to be a playoff team year in and year out. So I think a lot's on the line for this game. And I think it's going to be an exciting game to see. Even with all the transfers, opt-outs, there's still a lot of excitement in this game.
Big fan of that orange bet, Darian. Think that's a good idea. All right, appreciate you guys joining us and dropping some knowledge. Have fun covering this game, and we'll see you soon. And for more coverage on this game and these teams, be sure to check out Clemson 24/7 and Go Vols 24/7.